Nurse, awesome. So let's talk about time management for just a second and what that means as a nursing student. A couple of ways that you may be able to help yourself improve your time management skills as you move into clinicals in your next semester. I'm getting some emails, first of all, that I want to address. I don't want for you guys to send me emails that say you suck, because you don't. You're brand new nursing students, and you're not supposed to already know how to manage your time as a nurse, all right? So let's not waste any time saying that you're never going to get it, or that you never are going to be able to manage time, and that you're thinking about quitting nursing because of that. I mean, really, don't give up something you've dreamed about for a really long time because of such a little bitty thing that you're not supposed to know how to do yet anyway, okay? All right, we got that out of the way. I really want to beat the snot out of the cat that coined the term multitask, because really, me, you, no other human being is meant to do more than one thing at a time. And that's what this term multitask really implies, that we should be able to do many things at one time. What they really should have called it was looking forward to or preparing for one task while you're doing another task, because that's really what it is. For example, in the morning, you know that you have to start an IV on your patient. So when you go to the Pyxis that morning to get hygiene supplies, you also grab the IV start kit and your IV catheters, because you know that later you're going to need them. You may not be starting the IV right that moment, but you're going to. And so doing that task while you're gathering your hygiene supplies allows you to efficiently manage your time, right? It allows you to kind of kill two birds with one stone, but you're not multitasking. You're just being efficient. All right, so what are some things that may help you as a new nurse learn how to be more efficient with your time? I think probably for me, the biggest teacher was watching more experienced nurses. I learned really quickly to keep my mouth closed and my eyes and ears open, because they are just such rich sources of information. Even my clinical instructors, even the ones that I didn't quite agree with all the time, they had some really ass-kicking techniques for me to save time. So I paid attention to that. Also, being prepared, knowing what was going to be happening with my patient based off of the conditions that they had. So I knew that I should look for certain lab values or certain tests to be performed based on different medical conditions. So really going into clinical with some good, solid research being done on my patient the night before saved me a lot of time while I was in clinical from having to really look up a bunch of information about my patient or what lab values or procedures meant and all of that kind of stuff, right? It saves you kind of that backtrack time, which, makes you feel like you're running around with a chicken with your head cut off sometimes. If you feel that way, that's kind of an indicator that you need to take a breath and regroup and maybe find a way to manage your time a little bit better. Another way that I could kind of explain that, maybe not backtracking, is let's take, for example, that you have to give your patient 6 medications, right? So that's going to take a little bit of time. But you also know that you have to, they have to brush their teeth and wash their face, and you have to provide these kind of hygiene things for them, right? So when you grab your medicines for your patient for your 8 o'clocks, why don't you go ahead and grab your toothpaste and whatever other things they need to kind of clean themselves up a little bit, and then you give them those things, toothbrush, things to wash their face, comb their hair, all of that, and they can be doing that while you're over here scanning medications and getting them prepared to give to the patient, because that 5-10 minutes that it takes you to scan meds is time that they can be using to do this other task that has to get accomplished that day, right? So it's looking for opportunities to kind of combine tasks in that way will save you a lot of time. Here's another really simple example. You know that you have to change your patient's linens sometime during the day, right? So why not get the linens that you need, bottom sheet, top sheet, big cover, pillowcases, whatever it is that your hospital uses, and take those into the patient's room when you go in very first thing in the morning, or maybe after you've been in the room and you kind of scan the situation and figure out if you already have those linens. Go get them if you need them. And then when your patient needs to get up to go to the restroom, instead of wasting your time and just kind of sitting there waiting for them to get done, you can be changing the bed right quick, right? That's a good use of your time. That kind of allows you to combine two tasks, your patient getting up out of the bed and you making the bed or changing the linens. Instead of letting them go to the restroom, later on you have to come back into the room and then get them to get out of bed again so that you can change the linens. Does that make sense? So just kind of be aware of those things and look for opportunities to combine tasks in that way to be more efficient. You're going to find tons of those if you just look. And there are things that would make sense to you that made no sense to me and vice versa. So share those ideas with your classmates, okay? The other thing that can help you is to really kind of try to get in some habits very early. One of the habits that I had was the way that I collected data in the morning. So I would always look at the lab values first because I know there are certain medications that depend on lab values. There are other procedures that may or may not be able to be done based on lab values, that sort of thing. So I would look at lab values first, then I would look at procedures that they had to have done. Then I would make sure I checked the order set to see, can I get them out of bed? Are they on complete bed rest? What kind of diet do they have? Do I need to, take Vicodin? Do I need to make sure that they're only eating certain foods? Do I need to check their blood sugar first? I wanted to know all of those things before I ever set foot into my patient's room. And that way I could organize my time a little bit more effectively. So get in the habit of looking for those things before you start your day. Another thing that I really found particularly helpful was scanning the room when I go in. And I still do this as a nurse. I do this every single time I go in the patient's room, before I ever leave, like in the time it takes me to say, hi, my name is Melissa, I'm going to be your nurse today, and like write that on the board over here. I have looked like around the room and made sure that there's a stool in the room in case I need to do CPR. Remember, I work in ICU. Is the alarm where I can see it from outside the room? Are the alarms like audible? Can I hear them? Is there a bag mask over there in case I need to do CPR? Are the drips running? Are the bags almost empty? Is there any kind of clutter or fluff that I need to get rid of? Does the patient's urine need to be dumped? All of those things happen in that second or two that I say, hi, my name is Melissa. I'm making that kind of scan of the room. And that helps me to kind of organize my time as well. It helps me be more efficient, right? Because I have to do all of those things, but if I do them in those moments that I'm in the room with the patient for the first time, then I don't have to come back in and do them later, right? So time management in nursing is about being efficient and doing as many things as you can in that given space of time that you have, right? The other thing that I do or have learned to do, and I'm going to make a separate video about this, is really learning the art of how to collect data from a patient or how to assess a patient while you're having this conversation with them. So some things, listening to their heart, taking a pulse, you need to do, but you can learn a lot about a patient's mood, about their affect, about the way they're breathing, about whether they're working to breathe, about the color of their skin. You can assess a pulse. You can do a lot of things while you're just talking with a patient and asking them questions about how they're feeling, what their pain is, what is their understanding of their situation, is there anything that they need from you at that moment in time. All of those kinds of things that you ask can be used to gather data in a really efficient way. And I'm going to make another video about that because I think it's super important to learn. More than anything, you guys, I want you really not to beat yourself up for something that you're learning. It's real important that you kind of nurse your patients from a space that's really positive and uplifting, and the only way that you're going to be able to do that is if you feel that way when you go in the room. And if you're beating yourself up for things that you're really not supposed to know how to do already, whether it's, gosh, I should already know how to start an IV, or gosh, I should already know how to be an awesome time manager when you're in your first or second semester of school, that's really unreasonable expectation for you to set for yourself, all right? And it just kind of makes you feel like crap, and there's no need for you to do that. You are going to be an awesome nurse, and I can't wait to talk to you soon. Peace.